Hi, I'm Ashwini Deshpande. I'm from Elephant Design, India, and I was the president of Design and Packaging Design Jury at LIA. I think best part of judging was to be with those creative people in my jury who came from very different backgrounds, contexts, cultures, and to be able to hear what they had to say about a piece and to build on each other's opinions. I think that was the best part. In design, one hopes to feel, touch, see objects and packaging and pieces, and of course we were all looking forward to that. So some of the pieces that were here, we could see them and we could touch, feel, discuss, see the technique and textures and colors and so on. So there was focus, there was concentration, and there was general cheer and camaraderie. So that was lovely. I think not just this year, but I think it's kind of an emergence of a concept of design. So what we've been seeing is that in the past, we used to see a lot more of craft of design, and we used to award to the craft of design. But this year, as a jury, I think we could see the trend, and we've consciously taken some decisions that it's the idea, if it is going to make a big difference to the world or to the future or to the end user who's going to be finally impacted by that design, then that comes first. Not to say that craft doesn't matter. Craft is very important, and we believe by now it's a given. But beyond that, if the idea and the concept is going to make a big difference, I think we are seeing more and more entries that are trying to do that or that are attempting to make a big positive impact. In package design, I think we saw something slightly different. In package design, we saw a lot more creativity come out in special editions or limited editions, gifts, and so on. There was a lot more creativity in those entries. But in design, what I just spoke earlier, I think that was a bigger trend. So there was some really nice stuff in packaging design, which was special editions. In a couple of beverage categories, there was one which was, there was a flood in Germany, and a whole region that produces wine actually went under the flood. And they had thousands of bottles of wine that were submerged in mud, and they actually made something out of that. Instead of washing and wasting a whole lot of resources on trying to clean it up and make something out of it, they decided that they'll use that as a souvenir, and they'll use that as a memory of what they went through, and they just made something out of it. It was very interesting. Then there was another which was trying to say that they go through several batches of production before they actually finally come to the perfect beverage. And so they wanted to literally show how many batches, and that was an interesting entry again in packaging. So I mean, yeah, these are not conventional ideas. These are very interesting ideas that tell you bigger than something that they are just trying to sell in a can. So those were big ideas in packaging. And in design, like I said, we saw a lot more of social awareness, ideas that make a difference to people who have not been served before. I think those were great ideas. Of course, there was always a debate on what is traditional design. Is design a craft, or is design craft plus idea, or is it the impact? And we had some great debates. So some of the pieces I remember in design, like I mentioned earlier, I think many of the pieces that I remember were more about the impact than about the craft or the idea that they started with, because like I said, the jury really focused on what is the impact finally. And there were some very nice entries which were for visually impaired people. There were some multi-sensorial entries. There were some entries that used several technologies and integrated them to create a better impact. But the one that really went on to win all our votes is something that was started by a small inventor in Philippines. And then a big corporation picked it up and mobilized it to make it into a really large impact, to give a second life to something, a third life to something. And if you look at what's finally happened, which is a material, it's an innovative material from pineapple waste in farms. It's not a conventional design entry, but it's an entry that actually designed the whole ecosystem of something. And it's design thinking, it's thinking about what happens before and what happens after you design. And that's really what we rewarded. We thought that is an example. As a jury, we want to send out and say, don't just think of a small piece, think of the whole ecosystem of what you're designing and what's going to happen post a usage. In packaging design, there were very interesting entries, but we did not really find an entry that fitted our criteria of having made a really large difference before and would continue to make a difference even after. So I think it sort of didn't really fit that criteria because we had set out our objective quite high, and we believe as LIA we should be doing that, because if not LIA, who's going to really raise that bar? So we believe that LIA is about not just craft or idea, but it's about the whole ecosystem of design, and that's the focus. So that's how we didn't find one this year, but we are hoping that that's a message, and next year we'll find more entries like that.